Okay, so this, of course, is the last pro wrestling sort of combat I'm going to do. Next month, I'm on the fence if I want to do one that's more, horror related. People have asked me if I would do more like storyboard sequencing, where it'd be kind of like you book it instead of doing the, pros and cons of certain characters. So I might do something horror related, or I might maybe instead just go back to Doomsday and have Doomsday do another romp again. But anyways, CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin, two absolute rebels in their respective eras. Both of them were ones who wanted to stick it to the man. Very much iconic anti-heroes. And ironically, they've never had the opportunity to face each other in the ring. They know of each other. And they have had debates before. Ironically, if you go back and look, I want to say people said they were going to have a match at, was it 28? They might have had a match. But Austin more or less said that he's in the edge position. If he takes one more good bump, he's done. And as right now, Punk's done with wrestling. He's finished. Technically, they're both done with the sport. Ironically, my daughter was born, after Royal Rumble, so she never saw CM Punk wrestle, but has seen Sting inside WWE ring, but not CM Punk. So I do these fights differently than I do my comic book fights because there's a little bit more, and it's easier to take wrestler and compare it to a wrestler, because there's a lot, there's a lot less variations when it comes to strength levels, move sets, depending on writers. So I do this look at their overall physical abilities. So you got your strength, your speed, your endurance, and your toughness. And then look at your skill set. How well are you developed in the ring? Striking, grappling, submissions, high flying. And then the last part kind of is crowd reaction and booking. And so you're over with the crowd. How's your overall in-ring psychology? How good are you at actually telling the story inside the ring? And finally, how is your mic work? So we'll get right to this. Ironically, from a size standpoint, they are both billed as 6'2". CM Punk, svelte 220. Or skinny fat if you're Triple H. Or Austin, normally billed at 252. I don't get why they didn't either round up or round down. 252 seems like a very, very specific number. So we're getting into this. Strength. If you're comparing the two physically, Austin is definitely the larger individual. Austin definitely takes it in strength. But the problem with that is he is 32 pounds heavier than Punk. Punk, very quick on his feet. Also, Austin, bad knees. During the height of Austin's career, he did, of course, wear double knee braces. So it's going to limit his overall mobility. Endurance. Yeah, I have to give endurance to Punk. Man, Punk has put on some absolutely physical wars that have lasted a tremendous amount of time. During his Ring of Honor days, he very frequently went to time limit draws, which is impressive because you could do a half-an-hour, 60-minute match and keep the crowd somewhat involved. But Ring of Honor crowd goes nuts for good old-fashioned, hard-fought indie book matches. Toughness. This one, I had to give this one to Austin. A lot is based on the time when he fought Vince McMahon, where he just had these bloody, brutal brawls. And he still has one of the absolute best moments of irrepressible toughness you could ever have. That was WrestleMania against Bret Hart. The fact that he is in the sharpshooter and he is just gushing blood. He is wearing the proverbial crimson mask with the float like the elevator doors of shining to split open on his forehead. And that is that iconic moment of him looking at Ken Shamrock screaming, "No!" with the blood squirting from his face and just running down through his eyes, down through his chin. That's the brilliance of having, essentially, if you have blonde hair, a cut soaks into it, it looks awesome. That's why it works great for Ric Flair. And having no hair at all, there's nothing to absorb it, it just kind of flows. And that is one of the toughest moments I think you'll ever see. next to Triple H blowing his quad and then completing the match, which included Walls of Jericho. So from a physical standpoint, just the overall build, they're a pretty even match. Now we're going to go into their overall skill set. Striking. Stomp a mud hole in it, walk it dry. A background in Muay Thai. I have to give that to Punk. I think Punk does a great job when it came to spinning back fists, kicks, high knees. Really, really great use of Muay Thai, more of a mixed martial arts style. A lot of that is during the time of Ring of Honor, they really did incorporate a lot more ground and pound. You saw a lot more of elbows and knee strikes and punches, mounted punches. So it made sense that, Punk from that era would be very, very skilled. Also, they have a background in Muay Thai, a little bit. Grappling. I'm going to hear it on this one. This is how good are you when it comes to your suplexes, your body slams. I'm going to go with Austin. Just hear me out here before you start posting all the weird comments about, Austin sucked when it came to actual grappling. In the time of the Hollywood Blondes, he was a good grappler. He was very well known as a ring general, hence why he came over as a ringmaster. If you ever saw Austin have a feud with the following three people: Angle, Jericho, Benoit, you saw him pull out beautiful suplexes. He could do a great body slam. He had a really great grappling moveset. Just the majority of Attitude Era fights were just straight up brawls. But when he had an opponent who wrestled that style, he could flex into it almost flawlessly. So he had a really great knowledge of grappling. Still one apiece. Submissions. Austin, for a while, used the $1 Million Dream. Used it fairly effectively for a while. But he didn't really use a tremendous amount of that. No, I'm sorry. It has to go to Punk. It definitely has to go to Punk. Punk actually used submissions to finish off his matches. One of his bread and butter for a long time was the Anaconda Vice. So great use of overall submissions moves. High flying, that's Punk. Yes, they both did elbows. Austin, of course, did the front elbow in kind of an homage to his feud with Bret Hart. CM Punk still does one of the dirtiest looking high elbows. But he's not a finesse guy, so he can play with it. But good job when it comes to La Planchas. So just an overall skill set, Punk, a much more varied moveset. And the fact that he's probably going to be able to outstrike Austin just based his overall variety of strikes, as well as have some pretty good submission work. And if this fight goes anywhere on the outside of the ring, he's going to have a tremendous advantage because he does more of the La Planchas. He does more of the high-risk offense. So now we're going to go into the final phase. That, of course, is the booking aspect, how the crowd reacted. How are they when it comes to overall promo skills? What they're looking at when it comes to getting the crowd involved when it comes to the overall match quality inside the ring. Over with the crowd. Punk in the summer of Punk was really, really over. If you were to come back now, most crowds would probably pop pretty well. If you were to come back in Chicago, the building would probably explode with energy. But Austin, I have to give that point to Austin. I don't need to use Phoenix. I do 11 points, so I definitely have to give that one to Austin. Austin became the biggest star. The biggest star in the Attitude Era. He is the reason why the Attitude Era worked. Partially because he had an awesome villain in Mr. McMahon, but his music would hit and the whole crowd went for him. I remember one of the Raws I went to. A woman held up her baby, had a baby, do the middle fingers to Vince McMahon. Everybody loved Stone Cold Steve Austin. Wasn't a big fan. Yes, I was a guy who enjoyed the Ringmaster or liked Steve whenever he took on somebody who had a more grappling style background. I like more mat-based sort of work, unless you get that blood feud. For that blood feud, punch the dude, kick the dude, scratch, claw, scream, bleed, whatever you need to do to defeat your opponent. But I do prefer to see that much more kind of catch style. I do like seeing people grappling, just going the move-to-move sequences. You know, punch, kick, middle finger stunner, which is what made Austin famous, was dull. If you want to be honest, it was punch, kick, Luthez press, stunner, elbow, middle finger. You get almost, you know what, stop the mud hole drive, but I mean, for the most part, his entire offense was 6 moves when he was at his most popular. Cena 5, Austin 6. I'm thinking if Cena threw in the middle finger, I think people would probably like him a lot more. Just saying. Ring psychology. Both these guys, undeniable students of the game. And ironically, they both knew how to sell very well. Both of them knew how to sell. They knew how to really play either the face in peril, play cowardly heel, play dominant heel. But there's an undeniable aura that Stone Cold Steve Austin brought to that ring that I definitely have to give an edge in ring psychology. I think most of that was just the crowd was so invested in him as a character that the small nuances he could do just resonated beautifully. He had an almost perfect rapport with the crowd. Punk in Chicago? Oh, yeah. Punk in Chicago or in a smart town? Yeah. Punk, well, I guess Punk would be demigod because depending on where you're at, Foley and Heyman are kind of in like the clash of the titans when it comes to being the true god of professional wrestling, with Punk kind of being the forebearer. So I would say ring psychology had to give that edge to Austin. Now we're at mic work. So if you're keeping track at home, Austin, strength, toughness, grappling, over with the crowd, and ring psychology. 5. Punk, speed, endurance, striking, submissions, high flying. 5. It all comes down to that one last thing. How good are you with the stick? You know, when it comes to how good are you with that mic in your hand. Yes, this is a Doctor Who sonic screwdriver. I don't have a microphone in my room. And I'm a nerd. So, or geek, whichever term sounds cooler at the time. I've watched a lot of Austin's older promos. Austin 316. That is probably the biggest, most important promo. And it is such a short promo. I think Seth Rollins needs to sit down with Stone Cold Steve Austin and have Austin go, here's how you do an impactful promo in about 30 seconds. Thump on your Bible, talk about your John 16, Austin 3:16 says, I just whooped your ass. And that's it. The next night, Austin 3:16 signs everywhere. He knew how to do it. His what chance? Then he had moments that were horrible. The watch bit. You know what my watch is telling me? No, I don't. Don't know what your watch is telling you. And then the promos where it's just him spilling beer on his face. And his heel promos. His I've aligned myself with Mr. McMahon heel promos are horrible. Hearing him cry with Kurt Angle is just, oh God, that's, oh. Oh. That's some of the worst promo work from a major star. So he's had some promos that were just amazing. Other ones that were just catchphrases. Give me a hell yeah. Stone Cold said so. Yeah. Short promos, really good. Now Punk. Man, that pipe bomb almost took us from that really is the launch point of the reality era. And the fact that whenever somebody does a promo of that style, they always harken back to the CM Punk pipe bomb. AJ did a pipe bomb. Page did a pseudo pipe bomb is smaller pipe. Whenever anybody does a promo that has that great fourth wall breaking feel, they say it's a pipe bomb. And they call right back to CM Punk and that epic sitting Punk style on the entrance ramp and just laying it all out there. And when Punk was given some time and a mic, people right from he would go, this sucks, and just throw it away right in their face. No, that's not me. And we'll also say when it comes right down to it, they are fully tied up right now. It all comes down to who is better when it comes to the mic. I'm not looking at what was the greatest. So look at the greatest, they have to compare the pipe bomb on one hand versus the Austin 316 on the other. And while the pipe bomb was great, Austin 316 launched millions of shirts. Millions of shirts. And it was a true defining character moment for someone who became the true face of the company. Had Vince and them had the proper cojones and weren't so tied to sponsors, having a much more marketable look, Punk would have easily become the face of the company. But the moment we began to oversell Cena, they kind of had to back off on it. You can't have a counterculture guy being the face of your company. No. We've got muscular Matt Damon over here that everybody loves. So just comparing their two best, biggest shots, I think Austin 316, from the genesis of what happened from that moment forward, is a much better knockout shot promo. But we're not talking about who's throwing the best bombs. We're talking about who throws the best jabs, the best hooks, the best crosses, the best counter punches. That's Punk. Punk undeniably was fantastic on the mic. His heel stuff worked well. Stuff he did with Heyman, you don't need Heyman. When you've got a guy who's a diamond on the mic, you give him a diamond on the mic, the only thing you can have is their small interplay. And when two diamonds talk in the ring, it's a thing of beauty. But Punk does not need something like that. He was that good on the mic. You know why people care about his UFC career? Because they know once they announce an opponent, Punk is going to sell you that fight. He's going to sell you that fight because he knows how to talk. And he knows how to get you pissed off at him. He knows how to get you to love him. Dang it, where's my ice cream bar, Punk? I bought your ice cream shirt. Totally bought your ice cream shirt. My daughter, I got a photo of her with a best since day one onesie. How can I not? It's an awesome onesie. See? He mentioned ice cream. Got a t-shirt. Was that an Austin 316 moment? For the PG era of reality, I guess it kind of is. His best in the world t-shirts, best in the world promos. You know you're good when the things that you say become t-shirts and they sell well. You know, had Vince wanted to throw more behind him, Punk would have main evented WrestleMania 30, and he would have lost and given the belt over to Daniel Bryan. In a moment that would have just been blowing Smark's minds like the Jet.com commercial. So at the end of the day, Punk Austin, throwing the money behind Punk.